Feels good to be back.
Hey everyone, and welcome to UK Media Warrior. We're going to be looking at the new Vin Diesel movie, XXX, The Return of Xander Cage. And I think the question on most people's lips are, why did Xander bother returning? Now, XXX is never taken seriously anyway. The first Vin Diesel XXX film, was basically just sort of like a tongue-in-cheek spoof of James Bond. They were just making fun of the James Bond spy genre, and that was fine, and that was great, and that's why XXX, the first film, was in my eyes a good film. It was a really enjoyable, fun, just sit back, shove popcorn in your mouth, forget about it film. It was fun, it was good, it was perfect. Then XXX 2, State of the Union, came around with Ice Cube. Now a lot of people have hammered that. Again, to me, okay, it went off on a slightly different track. We weren't on the extreme sports hero anymore. We're now on some ex-military spec ops guy who used to be like a gangster in his youth or something, and they drag him in to be the new XXX. And yeah, okay, the storyline was a bit sillier, maybe perhaps if possible, than the original XXX, but it wasn't that bad, really. It was just a stuff popcorn in your face and enjoy it film. Now, after a long absence, we finally have XXX 3, as I say, The Return of Xander Cage. Now, did Vin Diesel really need to bring this film back? Did he need to re-energize this genre, this franchise of films? The question is, does he have anything else? Because he is known for the Fast and Furious films, the XXX films, obviously, and the Pitch Black film that he did. Now, he tried to reinstill energy into the Pitch Black universe. That just failed. He's done a few more films. The last one wasn't too bad, actually. But overall, the interest in that franchise just hasn't been there. So that wasn't a financial success for him. He's doing fantastically well on Fast and Furious, but that's not going to last, especially as The Rock's now in there, and with The Rock's star power, Vin and The Rock might be clashing heads a bit, and there might be a bit of friction there. Do you go to Fast and Furious now to see Vin Diesel, or do you go to Fast and Furious now to see The Rock? Yeah, there's an equal argument for both sides there. So again, how much longevity has the Fast and Furious films got in it? Probably not much longer. They can't carry on like this. I mean, the upcoming Fast and Furious film, from what I've seen from the trailers, looks absolutely ridiculous. So God knows how long that's going to go. So Vin Diesel's turned his attention to XXX, trying to re-inject interest in that storyline. The problem for me is, whereas the last two XXX were silly films, fun films, that you could just sit back, turn your brain off and just watch, and it was fine. This film is just an amalgam of Vin Diesel's greatest hits, basically. The plot is ridiculous, convoluted, and messy, and even the bad guys on the screen look confused about what they're saying to camera, which doesn't really help. Rather than XXX being a lone agent now, he's gathered a group of people around him, so this is basically a XXX meets Fast and Furious style thing. No longer is XXX a lone agent, which was part of the fun. Now he's gathered this team of experts who are going to help him out, and this team of this team of experts consists of a stunt driver, a DJ, and a girl who seems very proficient with a sniper rifle, who seems to like laying out in the brush in Africa, taking out poachers, which is laudable. And she is actually, to my mind, the best character in the entire film. But it's not exactly a team of experts when you're going up against sort of like this supposedly secret bad guy who's bringing satellites down on people's heads. it's a ridiculous premise to start with, and then it makes it even more ridiculous with this B team of people who he gathers around him. And then we find out that there's actually tiers of bad guys who you thought were the bad guys. They turn out to be other XXX agents that Gibbons has recruited and trained, while the original XXX has been elsewhere, sunning himself on a beach somewhere. So XXX, first of all, starts out fighting other XXXs. And then they realise that really perhaps they should be working together, and they go off after the real bad guy, who they deal with. But then there's another bad guy who just is just created basically with a phone call. So the plot just stumbles along. It's basically just an excuse to hang set piece action pieces on. Now, they start the film by trying to have some of the original XXX, extreme sports stuff. He drops off the top of this power pylon on a pair of skis, and God knows how many hundreds of feet you must drop, and then he lands on solid ground on Earth and skis off. Now, whereas the first XXX film, the extreme sports you saw in that were realistic, I'd seen them done myself on YouTube, on the television, so I know they were possible. And they were spectacular because you knew they were possible. In this, the extreme sports, what little there is of it, doesn't ring plausible to me. I mean, I wouldn't have thought there's any way a guy could drop off a power pylon, go down, drop down to the ground level, then carry on dropping because it's on the edge of a cliff, land on his knees and ski off. I would have thought that would have driven his leg bones up through his body or something, the amount of impact that would have had. And then skiing, normal skis by the look of it, on basically normal ground, dirt, gravel, rock. Is that possible? I've never seen it. Perhaps it is an extreme sport now. I will hold my hands up and say I don't know, but it didn't look particularly plausible on screen. He should have just come to a grinding halt, but he didn't. So anyway, that was the start of the film, but the film gets no better. As I say, it's just one set piece after another. The action is not very well filmed. It's blurry. You have trouble trying to figure out where everyone is. The acting isn't particularly good. I mean, let's face it, Vin Diesel is never going to win an Oscar for best performance in a film. And the people he has with him equally just seem to be there to pick up paychecks. I mean, you've got Donnie Yen, who's like the co-starring action hero alongside Vin Diesel in this. Now, Donnie Yen is a fantastic actor, and you've probably just seen him in Rogue One, so you know how good he is. But even in this film, he just feels like he's just there to spout the lines, do some martial arts stuff, look good, and pick up his paycheck and go. It doesn't seem that anyone is really putting much effort into it other than Vin Diesel. And as I say, perhaps that one girl who plays the female sniper, she's pretty good. I like her character. And she was the only one who felt like she wasn't just out of stage school and this was her first action film. So is XXX Return of Xander Cage any good? Well, no, not really. I mean, whereas the other two XXX films, you could say, well, okay, they're silly, but they're fun, and, fine. It's got a thread of plausibility in it. This one doesn't even have that thread. It's just a ridiculous premise, ridiculously badly acted, with big set pieces which are supposed to save the film. Even Samuel L. Jackson, who's back as Gibbons, is basically hamming it up as a B-list Nick Fury, and they even make fun of the fact because Gibbons supposedly dies at the beginning of the film, but then he's back at the end of the film wearing glasses with one blacked out lens that you can see through because the sun is shining on him, and you can see there's nothing wrong with his eye underneath it, but he's got one blacked out lens and one clear lens, which is obviously a nod to Nick Fury, his other character. And in Winter Soldier, Nick Fury is killed towards the beginning of the film, comes back towards the end, and obviously wears the eye patch. So they're just making fun of that, which is fine, but it just makes you realise that the rest of the film is basically exactly the same. They're just making fun of themselves almost. And it just doesn't work. It's just not that good a film. Now, if you just want an action film with a crappy plot, with bad acting, but with reasonably okay halfway action set pieces and that sort of thing, then this is a film for you. For my mind, it wasn't. It honestly wasn't that good, and it disappointed me that Vin Diesel coming back to XXX would do this. I was hoping for something more from him, as this is supposedly a franchise that he loves. But if this is what he thought would work, he probably figured, well, look, Fast and Furious is doing fantastic for me. So if I take that premise and inject it into XXX, then obviously that's going to work. No, Vin, that's not how it works. These are two totally different franchises. What people like about Fast and Furious doesn't necessarily mean that's going to work on a XXX film. Okay, you should know this by now. You've been in the business long enough. So, no, for my money, the score on this one, out of 10, I'm going to have to give this one a 4. I came out of it actually feeling disappointed and bored. I don't know what the next Fast and Furious film is going to do for me. I mean, I've enjoyed them up until now, even though their grasp on reality is getting thinner and thinner in every film, but I've enjoyed all the past Fast and Furious films. The next one, from the trailers I've seen, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But for anyway, yes, for XXX Return of Xander Cage, it's 4 out of 10, and I don't know if you're a fan of XXX, maybe go and see it, see what you think. I would wait for it to come out on Netflix or DVD or whatever personally, but that's just me. You guys take care. I'll see you next time on UK Media Warrior. For now, take it easy.